this next season, we are adding a new segment.
The Enoch episodes.
No, not the Enoch episodes. We just talked about this. We're adding a segment in place of the Conspiracy Corner segment, and it's going to be called Forbidden Books of the Bible, where Christina and I will delve into books of the Bible that have been either excommunicated by certain parts of the church or have been argued to be part of the Bible, but have been excluded ultimately.
Yes.
So the first book we're going to tackle is Enoch.
Yes.
And Christina's going to give us a little introduction to that.
Yeah. So in this season of the podcast, within the Forbidden Books of the Bible segment, we will be doing the Enoch
escapades.
episodes. All right. So I'm just going to tell you, this is just going to be an introduction to the Book of Enoch. And we're going to talk about it for the next couple episodes, more in depth, different sections from it. And by the end, I think we're going to decide on, do we think it should have been included in the Bible? Why was it left out? Things we liked about it, things we didn't. So this won't be an entirely in-depth or theologically sound, it's just our observations of the Book of Enoch.
Yes, although we are coming out with a class. Christina is going to be coming out with a class in the next 10 weeks that is all about Enoch. We're going to take you through the first book of it comprehensively and go a little bit deeper. So if you're interested in that, you can email us at stuffthatwelikePodcast@gmail.com to get signed up for that.
Yes, yeah, and we'll be posting about it on our social media. It'll be through the platform School, School with a K. So let's dive into the Enoch episodes.
Escapades.
All right. So today we'll be exploring a text that has captivated scholars, theologians, and curious minds for centuries, and that is the Book of Enoch. This ancient book is shrouded in mystery, I would say. Some parts of the church revere it. Others debate that it shouldn't be there, and others consider it to be anathema, that we shouldn't even read it, lest we get bad ideas in our head. But in some religious groups, it is considered a sacred book of the Bible.
What's anathema?
Anathema, I think it's should not be, it's kind of like Voldemort.
Okay, shouldn't be spoken of?
Yeah, well, it's
something that's strongly disliked or cursed or denounced.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So I'll be talking today about the contents of the Book of Enoch, who wrote it, the history of the book, and some ideas on why it wasn't included in our Christian Bible today of 66 books. And then in future episodes, we'll be talking more in depth through the contents of the book. And by the end, we'll let the listener decide if it's a made-up story, if it's inspired scripture, or something in between. So pop in here if you have any thoughts. You have read this book as well.
Yeah.
So first off, what is the Book of Enoch? Simply put, it's an ancient religious text that is attributed to Enoch. He's a figure that's mentioned in the Bible as the great-grandfather of Noah. Not much is known about Enoch because he's only mentioned briefly in the Bible. In Genesis chapter 5, verses 21 through 24, it says, "When Enoch had lived 65 years, he fathered Methuselah, and Enoch walked with God for 300 years. After he fathered Methuselah and had other sons and daughters. Thus all the days of Enoch were 365 years. Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him." Kind of an interesting verse. So he is one of two people in the Bible that it's not stated specifically that they died, which in the genealogy of Genesis, it's all talking about this guy was born and then had this child and then died at this many years. And he just kind of was not. These few short sentences describe Enoch as a righteous man who walked with God and then was not. And many biblical historians believe that this implies that Enoch was taken up to heaven and that he never experienced death.
Like Elijah?
Yes, like Elijah. The only other time Enoch is mentioned in the Bible is Hebrews 11:5, which says, "By faith Enoch was taken from this life so that he did not experience death. He could not be found because God had taken him away. For before he was taken, he was commended as one who pleased God." So the author of Hebrews right there is just making it very clear that he did not die.
Okay.
Enoch's also mentioned in genealogies in First Chronicles and in the Gospel of Luke, which is interesting, which lists Enoch as the great times 53 more greats grandfather of Jesus.
Okay.
So he directly descends, from Enoch. Jesus does. So now that we have a little bit of context about Enoch he was a righteous man who never died. Let's get more into talking about the actual Book of Enoch. So you might be asking, who wrote the Book of Enoch?
Yeah. Who was it, Enoch?
No.
Okay.
Most likely not.
All right.
It's $1 million question. Who wrote the Book of Enoch? And the short answer is nobody knows. The text is traditionally attributed to Enoch himself, but scholars agree that it's very highly unlikely that Enoch wrote it himself. This is because the Book of Enoch in the form that we have it today is what is considered a composite work, meaning that it was likely written by multiple authors over a period of time. That could be a short period or a very long period. Most experts believe it was composed by Jewish scribes, maybe from priestly or apocalyptic circles, so kind of people who are believing in the end of the age, who used Enoch's name to give the text authority and validity to the story it told. This was a common practice in ancient literature, and it's called pseudepigraphia, which is works that are attributed to a revered figure, but they weren't actually written by them.
Pseudepigraphia.
Yes.
P-S-E-U-D pseudo O-G-R-A-P-H-I-A.
Close.
Dang.
You were pretty close, actually.
What'd I get off?
It was D-E-P. Pseudepigraphia.
Okay.
So I left out the P when I said it.
Okay.
So while the book is Enoch's namesake, and some scholars believe that perhaps the first part of the book was actually written by him, the real authors remain anonymous and their identities are lost to history or purposely left out. Kind of like a ghost writer situation.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So next up, when was the book written? The Book of Enoch isn't a single text, as I mentioned, but a collection of writings. And the most well-known version is called 1 Enoch. So First Enoch, or the Ethiopic Enoch. And that's because it's included in the Ethiopian Bible. It's the only Bible in the world that includes the Book of Enoch. Even the Catholic Bible, which has the Apocrypha and has extra books in it compared to the Christian Bible or the Protestant Bible, only the Ethiopian Bible contains the Book of Enoch.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah. So for the purposes of this podcast, I'm just going to call it the Book of Enoch instead of 1 Enoch or Ethiopic Enoch. So that's what we're talking about. Scholars believe that it was likely written in between 300 to 100 BC. So about 300 to 100 years before Jesus. This places the writing in the Second Temple period of Judaism, and during this time in Israel's history. I'm going to call it Judea.
Yeah.
It was a time of intense religious and apocalyptic thought when the majority of extra biblical books were written. So those are the ones that are included in the Catholic Bible, like the Book of Jubilees, the Maccabees. And so that's why it's kind of grouped into that time. Now, you might ask, what language was it written in?
Aramaic?
So interesting. Well, it obviously wasn't originally written in English. Of course, it's ancient.
Yeah.
But the oldest complete version we have of the book is in Ge'ez, which is an ancient Ethiopian language.
Okay.
And that's why it's called the Ethiopian Enoch. But scholars believe the original texts were likely written in Aramaic, maybe Hebrew, which was the languages commonly used by Jewish communities at the time. And fragments of the Book of Enoch were also found among the Dead Sea Scrolls, which were these a bunch of biblical scrolls that were found in Israel, I think in the 40s or 50s, that had full books of the Bible.
Yeah.
The full book had Esther and the Book of Isaiah and the Dead Sea and parts of the Book of Enoch were in there as well.
I had no idea.
Yeah, and so that added validity that whoever preserved all these books of the Bible might have thought that the Book of Enoch belonged there.
Wow.
But only parts were able to be recovered, so they weren't able to recover the whole thing. But that shows that these books, the Book of Enoch, was at least 2,000 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So the parts that they found in Aramaic completely match the parts that are found in the Ethiopian Bible as well.
Wow.
So word for word. So this suggests that the book was written in Aramaic and then somehow made it to Ethiopia and was translated into Ge'ez. And I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right, but maybe my...
Is it G-A-E-Z?
It's G-E apostrophe E-Z.
Gez.
Gez.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Gez.
Guys.
This is the book.
This is the Book of Enoch, guys.
So what is the book actually about? Like I mentioned, we'll dig more into the contents in our future episodes, but I'll just give a brief synopsis right now. The Book of Enoch is divided into 5 main sections, each with their own focus. So the first section, and this is the section that some scholars believe was that Enoch himself might have written, and then other stuff was just added later on. And it's the Book of the Watchers, and it describes fallen angels called the Watchers who descend to earth, marry human women, and teach forbidden knowledge, which leads to corruption and divine judgment, which this matches a little bit about the Book of Genesis, where angels came and married human women and had children who were the Nephilim. Next, we have the Book of Parables, which includes messianic visions and prophecies about the Son of Man, a messianic type figure, which is really interesting because Jesus refers to himself as the Son of Man all throughout his time on earth. Mm-hmm. Then there's the astronomical book, which delves into celestial cycles and calendars. So a little bit of astronomy.
Yeah, that was hard to get through.
Yeah, it was a little weird. Next is the Book of Dreams, which is Enoch's visions of history. And then finally, the Epistle of Enoch, which offers moral teachings and warnings about the end times. So to sum it all up, the Book of Enoch is a mix of cosmology, angelology, and apocalyptic warnings of what's to come. So it's pretty heady stuff for an ancient text. From what I was reading, they're saying this is something you might read today in like a modern day sci-fi novel, but for being 2,000 plus years old, it was pretty ahead of its times, one might say.
For sure.
Yeah. So why is it in the Ethiopian Bible? One of the most fascinating aspects of the Book of Enoch is its place in the Ethiopian Bible. Unlike most Christian and Jewish collections of scriptures, which both exclude it, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, as well as a Jewish sect that lives in Ethiopia, both consider one Enoch to be canonical, inspired by God's scripture, equivalent with the Book of Genesis, anything written in the Bible.
Wow.
Why, you might ask? Well, to understand this, there's a little quick history lesson I want to give. And the message of the gospel and Christianity reached Ethiopia very early compared to the rest of the world, because Ethiopia comparatively isn't as far away as, say, China or Japan or North and South America.
Yeah. And
Ethiopian churches developed their own distinct traditions that were different from other Christians, just because they were the gospel got to them, Christianity, the Old and New Testament, and then they were kind of separate from what's going on in the modern world. The Book of Enoch was likely preserved because it resonated with some of their theological and cultural perspectives. Also, if they didn't know any different, that book made it to them along with the rest of the Bible. Why wouldn't they think it should be in the Bible?
Yeah.
And so it was translated into Ge'ez and became an official part of their Bible, which includes other books that aren't found in standard Bibles. So in fact, the Ethiopian Bible has 15 extra books.
Wow.
That standard Bibles do not have. The Ethiopian church's isolation from later Western debates about what should be included in the Bible likely helped preserve the Book of Enoch remaining in the Ethiopian Bible, because around the year 200, 300 AD is when church leaders got together and kind of like, this book should be in the Bible, this shouldn't. And they're just over in Ethiopia, just chilling and reading the Book of Enoch.
Yeah.
So you may ask, why isn't it in other Bibles?
Yeah.
Great question. It was widely circulated among Jewish and Christian communities, but by the 4th century AD, it fell out of favor in most religious traditions. For Jewish communities, it was likely excluded due to its focus on mystical content, which didn't align with their religious traditions. Also, some people speculate the heavy focus on the Son of Man narrative throughout the Bible. Through the Book of Enoch, which Jews don't believe that Jesus was the Son of Man. So it's kind of adding to, this is a prophecy that was completed through Jesus' coming. For Christians, the book was largely set aside by early church fathers when they formalized the Bible because they favored biblical books that had more certain connections to the likelihood that they were inspired by God. So they kept all the Old Testament, which was already decided by the Jews. And then with the New Testament, they chose books that were either written by somebody who directly knew Jesus or knew a disciple of Jesus. And so Enoch's this kind of, he died a long time ago. This book was written a couple hundred years ago. There's not any clear connections. So despite not being in most Bibles, the Book of Enoch has certainly left its mark. It has influenced early Jewish and Christian thought, especially ideas around angels, demons, and the Messiah. Some scholars even see echoes of its imagery in the New Testament, like in the Book of Revelation, which is very interesting. And the Book of Enoch is also both directly quoted and alluded to in several books found in the New Testament, which shows that likely people who wrote the New Testament
thought it was included in Scripture.
Thought that it was scriptural, or at least important in their day. It's found in the Book of Jude, Peter, things like that. It was also revered by early church fathers like Tertullian, who firmly believed it was divinely inspired Scripture.
Okay.
Yeah. So to wrap up, that's a wrap up of my intro on the Book of Enoch. If you're intrigued by the contents of this book, tune into our upcoming episodes. Next week, we're going to talk through the first 12 chapters of the first section of the Book of Enoch, which is the Book of the Watchers, which is personally my favorite part of the book. It's the part that I could see most likely being a real story.
Same.
Yeah. So if you want to read the book for yourself, I'd recommend ordering the Book of Enoch online from Amazon. The one written by Tim Alberino is really good. He adds in some footnotes and connections to where different verses were mentioned in the New Testament. So I'll put a link in the description. And along with that, you can just read it on a website, the same translation for free. The website is called bookofenoch.com.
Cool.
Yep. So it can be listened through audiobook on that website as well, if you just want to listen to it. So yeah, we're just going to kind of try something new and go through this interesting book for this season.
I'm super excited about it. I really liked going through it the first time, especially the Book of the Watchers. That's probably my favorite part. But there's a majority of, I don't know, there's a lot of things in the Book of Enoch that I look at and have not necessarily changed my perspective on what the end times will look like or what the throne room will look like even, but have given my brain kind of new inspiration because for my mind's eye, I've read Revelation so many times and been like, okay, well, I know this part says that the throne room looks like this and that God looks like this, that Jesus is at the right hand. But when I went through Book of Enoch, there's so many different descriptions of what the throne room could possibly look like, and even what the end times is how it's going to unfold. And so it was just really cool to shake up the perspective in my mind's eye around what these things could possibly look like. Even though Enoch isn't necessarily considered a book of the Bible, I think that the first and second parts of Enoch, it's the Watchers, and what was the second book? It was
the Book of the Parables.
Book of the Parables. I think those two for me actually are the closest to being something I would include in Scripture. Because I don't think there's anything necessarily too blasphemous in those.
Yeah, well, that's why it was debated enough that it could be included. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm really stoked. I'm really excited about this. And like we said, Christina will be coming out with a class about it. We're stoked on doing that too. But for now, follow along. Like you said, we're doing chapters 1 through 12.
Yes, which is the equivalent to like 5 pages. The chapters are like 4 or 5 verses.
Super short. What are you most excited about for going through the Book of Enoch?
I don't know. I think it's just interesting. I like making the connections to the New Testament authors and what they thought of this book. I don't know. And there's some what would be considered prophetic material in there that I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Huh. Jesus did say stuff related to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it'll just be kind of fun. I think it's fun to just do something different. We've been switching up every season, so to conspiracies, and this is kind of just a whole season of a conspiracy.
Exactly. Yeah, the biblical conspiracies. That would have been a better name.
Oh, we could do that.
No, we got it.
Forbidden Books of the Bible with the Enoch episodes.
The biblical conspiracies. Yeah,
it's like those
go.
big textbooks that have like 4 titles.
The newspaper that has one giant headline.
Yeah.
Just keeps going. Yeah, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, cool.